Well, hello and welcome to another video on the Honda Firestorm VTR 1000. It's a crappy wet day and I'm on my way back down to the MOT testing station. Yes, I did say on my way back. Well, I brought it down for an MOT. And I thought it might fail on one or two things, and there might be a few advisories. But I certainly wasn't expecting a rap sheet like the one it got. The big one is the steering lock on it. So when it goes onto full steering like that, what it was doing was hitting the tank, which I didn't realise it was doing. Never mind, I didn't realise that was an MOT failure. So yeah, so the handlebar here was hitting on the tank, and as a consequence then it was going around too far, so the light switch was hitting on the other side of the fairing there and turning off the lights. So there's a little stopper down there on the frame, so when the headstock turns it hits that stopper and it stops it going around so much, and that little stopper, which I don't know how it's in there somewhere, that had either just worn away or it dropped off or something anyway, but I got a new little bit just welded in there, so now it stops there, as before it was hitting the tank. So that was the big thing. And then there was a number of advisories because of that, like for example like the lights switching off and so on, like I said. Yeah, so I've done that. The other thing then was the back brake disc, which, to be totally honest, I never even paid much attention to. I cleaned up the brake calipers and so on. Didn't pay much attention to the back disc, but yeah, there was a couple of little cracks in it, so that needed to be renewed. And then the wheel bearings in the back wheel then were they needed replacing as well, so I had to do that as well. And then there was a couple of other little advisories which hopefully should be okay. One of them being had an advisory on the valve stems were deteriorating a bit. Now at first I thought the valve stems, and I was thinking of the valves in the engines, and I was thinking, well, how do you know they're deteriorating? And that sounds like serious shit. But then I realised, no, it's the valves in the wheels. But the wheels are holding air, like the tyres are holding air, so I'm not really sure what the issue is there. Anyway, it's an advisory on it anyway, so there's that as well. And what else is on that list? Oh yeah, the back wheel was very slightly out of alignment. Now I've got a little tool that runs a sight along the chain. That, you know, from sprocket to sprocket along the chain, and lines it up that way to make sure it's all nice and straight. So I did it on that, but the MOT tested, because the little notches on either side of the swing arm, it was on slightly different notches on each side. That was I can't remember if that was a failure or an advisory, but I've put it back so it's the same amount of notches back on either side. So yeah, so those few bits, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Well, I hope we'll be good to go, because I took photos of it last night or yesterday and put an ad up in Facebook ads, and obviously put it on there with a year's MOT, presuming that I'll get a full year in it today. So I hope that's the case, so I don't have to take down that ad again. I'm surprised no one's messaged me yet or left a comment on any of the Facebook forums around that to say it doesn't have an MOT, even though I said it's got an MOT. Oh, the other thing I had an advisory for as well was the indicators are flashing too quickly. I still didn't get a relay for that. I thought I had one in the shed, so I didn't order one or anything, and probably won't even bother. But yeah, it needs an indicator really, because they're flashing too quick. So, been for the MOT, and it is another big fail. Yep, I'm really annoyed about this. So it's failed on fuel system component leaking excessively or risk of fire. Fuel tap leaking onto exhaust manifold. So Chris, the examiner, he actually showed me what was happening. So the fuel tap there in the very center of the screen. Let's try and zoom in. There we are. So the fuel tap there, that hole at the bottom, that's a breather hole, and there was fuel dripping out of that. I've never seen it before. I've never noticed how it's done it. It hasn't done it since, but it did it when it was down there getting MOT tested. I'm a bit of a loss to what it is, but anyway. So I've already ordered a fuel tap repair kit. Hopefully that should come tomorrow, and I don't know what I can do really apart from take the tank off, take the fuel tap apart, and have a good gander on it. But like I said, it hasn't happened before, it hasn't happened since, but it was definitely happening when I was down there when I was getting MOT'd. I'm glad he brought me in to show it, because otherwise I just wouldn't believe him, because yeah, I don't know. Anyway. So I've taken the fuel tank off the Firestorm. I've taken the tap off, and I've got this repair kit. So what I'm going to do now is just take this apart. So that's the way it sits on the bike, upside down like that, and the fuel was leaking out of here, which is a breather pipe. So yeah, I'll take it apart anyway and see what's what. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's nothing actually wrong with this, but there's no denying it. There was some fuel leaking somewhere on it. I don't want to take this apart and find out I'm having all sorts of problems getting it working again. I've got a really bad habit of doing that. So at least I'm videoing it anyway, so I can see. That is spring loaded underneath. So what's going on there? Okay, so I've got a new diaphragm there. I've got a new spring. How does this all work? I don't know. Okay, comes off there. That lifts out through there. It just lifts out of that. That does feel very flimsy. And put this all back together again now. So, okay. So that goes in there. Oh, it's meant to go in there. Oh, we're going to have to get it back in there. Oh. So that was on that side. So that little doodah goes on there. Now, okay, let's get this back together. So that goes, sits in there like that, like so. And that spring is on there. And that pushes down on the spring. And just no pop off again. Right, that seems about right. New little bolts there. I'm not sure where that was for. That might be for where the filter, yeah, the filter goes on down there. That's what that was for. Okay, anyway, getting ahead of myself. Let's get this back on first. Right, so I've put that tap all back together again. Put it back on, got it running. And if we can see in there, hopefully that should be okay now. Fingers crossed. I'll try and get it retested tomorrow. So just back from the MOT station, and hallelujah, it's passed. What a faffle that was. Still don't know what was going on with that fuel tap and why it was leaking. But anyway, it's not leaking now, and it wasn't leaking when I got it tested, so thankfully we got it passed now anyway. Now to get it advertised and back up for sale, because I'm going on holidays next week and I don't particularly want this hanging around for too long. I'd like to get it sold before I go on holidays. Well, as always, thank you very much for watching, and please like, subscribe, give me your thoughts in the comments. Much appreciated. Bye bye.